Nerd alert, dork face.
I am not a loser. I just have a bad haircut.
Kind of a major dork.
Oh, nerds.
If you're into science, tech, or unique hobbies, you're listening to the right show. On Get Nerdy With It, we interview nerds talking about their passions. This is Get Nerdy With It.
Hello, welcome to Get Nerdy With It, episode number 51, recorded on Thursday, May 21st, 2015. I'm your host, Jennifer Ruggiero, and I have missed you guys. It has been a while, but we're back, and we're kicking off the spring and summer with some awesome guests, and so let's get started. But first, before we introduce the guests, I want to talk with our wonderful co-host, Mr. Andrew Nelson. Hey, Andrew, how's it going?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm super, thank you. I've missed this.
It's been a while, hasn't it?
It's been a while, yeah. So I'm stoked that we're getting back into it.
So yeah, I'm definitely excited to talk to our two guests here.
Yeah, me too. So, first we'll start with Jason. So we have two guests today. And our first one is Jason Reagan. Jason is a freelance journalist and communications manager. He lives in Boone, North Carolina. And for the past year, Jason has been writing all about drones for dronelife.com. And he also is a fan of all things nerdy. Hello, Jason.
Hello, Jennifer.
How's it going?
I am just doing very well this evening. I hope you are too.
I am. Thank you. I am. I'm excited to finally get you on because we've been talking about doing this, since last fall or last winter or something?
Right, I think so. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we keep on rescheduling and, So I'm stoked to finally have you on. And drones are all over the news, so I'm really excited to talk with you about that and just to hear about what you're into, what you've been getting into. So
Great.
Welcome.
Look forward to it.
Sure, thanks. And also joining us today is, and hopefully he can hear us now because I know he is vacationing in Hawaii and we happen to be recording and interrupting his vacation. So Mr. Paul Kerry from PKTV Productions. He is an app developer and all-around tech guru. He has more gadgets than me, if that's at all possible, and clearly it is because he has more than I do. So, hey, Paul.
Hey.
Are you getting off the bus? I think you're getting off the bus. So we will try to get back up. Oh, there you are. You're dropping out just a bit. That's all right. Well, I'll let you go ahead and go on mute, and we'll just circle back with you and just and ask you questions and everything. So hopefully, once we get to your section, you will be in the hotel and able to talk with us. So sorry for interrupting your vacation, but I appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, it's all good.
Okay. All right. Well, I thought for the show roundup today, we'd get into a few news stories and discuss that, and then get into a couple of interview questions for our guests. So does this sound like a plan for everyone?
And we have quite a few news stories here.
We do. We're not going to go through all of them. Yeah. I have like about 30 news stories. No, we're only going to go through about just a couple of them. So no, not to worry. So the first one I thought would be interesting to talk about, and this isn't shocking by any means, but I've noticed this myself. And it's a study, and this is published in Engadget.com, that Microsoft is showing a study that tech is shortening your attention span. So if you think that the abundance of tech in your life is actually making it harder to concentrate for long periods, well, Microsoft actually has some evidence to support that theory. It recently published a study conducted using both surveys in EEG scans that they suggest that the average attention span has fallen in the past since the start of the century. So people before used to be able to focus on a task for 12 seconds back in 2000, and now that figure has dropped to 8 seconds in 2013.
Still doesn't seem that long, does it? 12 seconds?
12 seconds isn't that long anyway, you're right. And then 8 seconds is even shorter. I'm hearing a lot of background
Yeah, we have a
noise.
lot of rustling.
Yeah, if anyone can... Paul, is that you? Yeah. So now it's 8 seconds. So, I mean... That's not that many seconds. It's 4 seconds. But, I think my attention span is more like 4 seconds maybe, or 3. Or I don't It's really short.
It's probably exponential for you since you have like 10 different phones.
I'll tell you, it is so hard for me to not multitask when I'm doing something. You know, if you're on, even if I'm watching a show, like a TV show, I have to have my devices in front of me just so I can multitask and while I'm watching the show. You know, I don't know. Are you that way, or? You can put things down more easily than I can, I think.
Probably because I don't have as many things as you. But does it really count if you're really good at multitasking? Let's say maybe you're really good at operating 3 different devices at a time.
Yeah, I guess.
I guess you aren't really focusing on one specific task, but if you're performing them all at almost the same level you would if you were just doing that one task.
Well, you know what's interesting, just what you said, they're saying it's not really all that bad because tech is hurting attention span overall, but it also appears that it's improving your abilities to multitask and concentrate in short bursts. So you're exactly right. So it's not all that bad, right? It's it's hard to keep focused, but at the same time, you're right. If you can
so it might not be completely a bad thing.
No, I don't think it's a bad thing. If you can get more done in a shorter amount of period of time by the use of all these awesome devices, why not?
Right.
I guess
Sorry.
Go ahead,
I was
Jason.
just going to say, well, and you know what? I've been reading, and I'm really bad about quoting stories that I've read and not really having all the details, so I'm just going to throw this out there, but it seems like I have been reading that, especially with younger people, like I have a 17-year-old daughter, and apparently one of the things they're finding out is that, yes, some of those skills may change, attention span may change, but like you were saying, what ends up happening is the brain can basically, our brain's so flexible that if we get this situation where we have a lot of devices, whether it be 1, 2, or 10, you have all these devices, your brain can find a way to still allow you to operate in the way that's going to work the best for whatever it is you have to get done. And especially with younger people, it seems like they're able to actually analyze information better. In other words, it's not that they have to worry about having an attention span and having to memorize a bunch of facts and figures. They're able to take the information from all these different sources. I don't know about 10 devices, but all these different sources, they can take it and make a better analysis and come up with maybe quicker, more thoughtful conclusions. So I think it's like anything when you're dealing with the brain, it's sort of you give up one type of attention or ability, but you gain something else.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think we adapt, and what might be something that we're falling short in one area, you're right, we pick it up in another area. So it basically adapts to the surroundings that we're in today, and the world today is a very different place than what it was. Well, not extremely different, but pretty different from what it was in the year 2000 and the year, 10 years before that and 10 years before that. So
what you're saying is maybe we don't have the great attention span to kind of crunch these numbers or calculate this data, but we don't really need it because all the data is really just given to us right now. And we can just make analysis and infer conclusions off of that data that's already given to us.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's important to be able to calculate data, but at the same time, the fact that the methodology, the methodology of the way that did I say that right? Of the way we get, of the way we receive information today is completely different. So the things that we needed to be able to decipher and do before is
all right there.
Yeah, it's different today. So it's but.
Adapt and overcome.
Yeah, adapt and overcome. What's your take on it all, Paul? Because you have about a gazillion gadgets. Have you noticed your attention span decreasing, or are you able to focus more because of all your different distractions that you have?
I haven't noticed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're doing a lot of multitasking right now, aren't you?
Well, yeah, I would say yes, I am.
Paul's playing Game of War right now. I bet. I'm kidding.
Well, what were you doing on the bus earlier? Were you on a tour of Honolulu?
No, I was coming back from shopping's last day here, so essentially I went shopping.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Clothing here is just so unbelievably cheap. compared to Australia.
Isn't that interesting? I wonder if is it because of the dollar conversion? Is that why? Or no?
No. Your dollar's way higher than ours. It's just still unbelievably cheap in comparison. So
you got to take advantage of all that. Yeah, while you're here.
We're talking about like 50 to 75% less than the Australian prices.
Oh, wow.
So that's how insanely expensive Australia is.
Yeah, I was under the impression that Hawaii was like massively expensive compared to everywhere else because they have to import everything.
To the locals, it is, but to us, any Australian will tell you it is unbelievably cheap here.
That's awesome.
Like even if they have the price extremely high, to us it's nowhere near high. It's not even close to the amount we pay in Australia.
Is the tech the same or same price? Like if you go, because I would think that would remain consistent. If you went into an Apple store here, it'd be the same as the.
Yeah, technology. There's not a lot of difference in the prices. Most things. If we get stuff from say the US, we have like I guess, for instance, for Apple, we will say, we have an Apple tax for essentially anything outside of the US. But it's more or less the same pricing.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're able to get some shopping done today. So, would you guys say that any of you happen to have nomophobia?
What do you mean by that?
Evidently, nomophobia is a condition, and it is a condition that when you get that anxious feeling, when you misplace your cell phone or your phone battery dies, nomophobia, which stands for no mobile phone phobia, is what the diagnosis
That's scientific.
is. Yeah, it's in WebMD, actually. They're calling it nomophobia. Yeah, nomophobia. So there's some researchers at Iowa State University, and they had a quiz, and it was asking people to respond to statements such as, if I were to run out of credits or hit my monthly data limit, I would panic. And also, if I could not check my smartphone for a while, I would feel desire to check it. So after they tried their questionnaire on about 300 people, they concluded that they had a reliable indicator for signs of nomophobia. I don't know how reliable that is. But evidently, it's a compelling concept that it seems that a lot of Americans, at least, I'm sure it's all over the world, seem to suffer from it because we're so hardwired into using mobile devices that navigating society without a mobile device can actually be a challenge. So, for example, when's the last time you used a paper map? We rely upon Google Maps for everything, and it's if you can't access that data, it's kind of it's a challenge. So,
I honestly can't think of the last time I used a paper map.
I can't either. Oh,
it was probably a really long. I think
I remember now.
When I was overseas, that's where it was. When I was in Ireland, like over 10 years ago.
See, and I think that's a good
because I didn't have data.
That's exactly right. If you're in another country, you need a paper map because you don't have data, unless if you have some type of GPS in the car you're renting or using. But that's the one thing. Or make certain you get a SIM card and unlock your device and get data when you're abroad. So
I think it might be like if I misplace my phone or maybe my data goes out, like if I'm in a no service area, like when we were in Canada a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. I had to turn my phone on airplane mode so I didn't get hit with those extreme roaming charges.
Exactly. Yeah.
I wouldn't call it a phobia. I mean, yeah, it's a little inconvenient, and
well, now you were going around. No, wait, but you were at the point where I need to find a hotspot. I need to find a hotspot, and because you wanted to constantly post your photos.
I still don't think that would be considered a phobia per se. Maybe it's a little inconvenient, but I think phobia is a little extreme.
It's not a phobia, but yeah. That was funny though. But yeah, it's interesting. For me, I have the problem where I think that I hear my phone vibrate or go off when it's not doing it.
Which one?
Any of them.
That happens to me all the time. I was going to ask about that. There needs to be a medical term for that. Do you guys get that where you just feel this vibration like around your pants pocket or something like that, and your phone's on the other side of the room? And I get that all the time, and that has to be. I don't think that ever happened before cell phones. Maybe it did, and I just didn't notice it. But there needs to be, I think, a term for that. We need to get WebMD on that.
Yeah, I agree. I think there needs to be a term for that.
Do you think they're actual muscle spasms, or do you think you're just imagining it?
Imagination. I think it's
no idea. I think there's probably a TED Talk in that, I would say, but I don't know.
Because I think it happens. I know it happens to me. The same thing. I either feel it or I hear it. I assume that I just pretend like I hear it or imagine that I hear it in my purse, and it's really interesting. Yeah. Does that happen to you, Andrew? Or no?
No, actually, no.
No,
I can't really think of maybe like, I think it has happened, but it's not like a recurring thing.
Yeah. How about you, Paul?
Not in general, but since I got the Apple Watch, I pretty much anything that taps me, I think my Apple Watch is tapping me, essentially, because it always just feels like that, essentially.
So it always feels kind of like a little vibration on your wrist going off, and
it literally simulates tapping, so it feels like someone's tapping on you. Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
So you
every
time someone, it just feels.
So now you kind of sense it when it doesn't happen.
Well, yeah. Even when someone does tap you, you think it's your watch doing it. So yeah.
That's great. I like that.
Huh.
That's really cool. Yeah, it is interesting just the way our devices have kind of changed the way we, work with the world, and also just how I think a lot of people are actually addicted. I know my mother is addicted to her phone, and I think a lot. And I work in the industry full time, and I see that same thing, where a huge addiction to their phone. But I've never heard of the term nomophobia before, so I think I'll share it with my teammates and see what they think. So, yeah. Well, I thought we'd get into maybe a couple of drone stories as well, since Jason works for dronelife.com, and it's quite interesting anyway. So, the first one is one I'm going to mention that comes from themorningbulletin.com. It's actually an Australian story, Paul, and they're using drones to round up the cattle. So the cattle in Queensland are under attack from drones, they're saying. They have about 1.5 million hectares in size as far as the land. So that's a ton of land. And it would take up to 3 months to actually get the cattle to locate the cattle. So they're using this new technology and using drones to actually help herd their cattle. And their whole theory is that the cattle actually runs away from the drone. So with the drone, you can actually herd your cattle, and have it go to where you need it to go to. And so I think that was kind of a unique, there's so many different unique ways to use drones. But I thought that was a different one. I never even thought about it for cattle herding, that's really smart. So Australia is one of the first countries to actually regulate the commercial operation of drones in the world. And so pilots actually need an operator's license or an operator certificate, and they have to meet some certain conditions that the Civil Aviation Safety Authority sets out. So just kind of like in the United States, when we have to abide by the FAA rules and need a license to operate the drones. So I found that was interesting.
That's really interesting. Now, maybe...
Well, that's the first I've heard of that.
What's that?
That's the first I've heard of that.
Oh, yeah?
I'm from Queensland.
Yeah,
And you're from there. Yeah.
So I didn't know that was happening.
Maybe Jason can help me out on this one, but I find it odd that you need an operator's license to operate a drone, whereas like remote control. I used to have a neighbor, actually, when I lived back in New Hampshire, that was a real hobbyist into remote control, like actual gas-powered remote control helicopters, and I don't think he needed a license for that. So,
right.
It's because they can go so far now. They can go, several miles down the road, sort of thing. we're talking a massive coverage, as opposed to a couple. I know. Couple of, I was going to say meters, but you guys don't do meters.
That's fine. Meters. We know what a meter is. It's good.
Yeah, I don't. Feet. That's it. A couple of 100 feet.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. Yeah. So.
Well, in answering your question, Andrew, the real difference there is, and I'm not really going to be able to speak much on Australia. That's a new word I made up. Australian. Aviation regulation, but I suspect that in some ways, from what little I had, I've sort of been exposed to it. It seems that it's kind of close to the FAA. Basically, the FAA, when you talk about things like drones, it's really going to be regulated based on what the use is for. So if you're going to use a UAV or drone for recreational use, basically you're allowed to. And then
you don't need a license for that.
You do not need a license for that. You have to abide by certain guidelines. You have to fly no higher than 400 feet, and you've got to keep your drone in eyesight at all times, and just things like that. Just general. You can't fly near an airport, obviously, and things like that. So. However, once at some point when you actually are using the drone for commercial use, then it becomes a whole new ball game, and that's where you've had a lot of the drone sector butting heads with the FAA, because for a while the FAA had really had a lot of contradictory rules, and it was very hard to understand what exactly was legal and what wasn't. And they're starting to get a little better about it, and they've now instituted a process where you can apply for what's known as a Section 333 exemption, and that's the section that deals with that. And I've been sort of tracking that for Drone Life, and I try to do an occasional blog post about who's getting these exemptions and that sort of thing. And from what I can tell, it seems like, for the most part, if someone's already got their stuff together to the point where they can actually apply to the FAA and know what they're doing, in general, they seem to be getting these. They seem to be getting these exceptions, and I mean, supposedly there are only certain kinds of businesses that can get this exception. But for example, for agricultural use, like you're talking about with this cattle situation in Australia, another would be things like inspecting infrastructure, pipelines, gas lines, electrical lines, things like that. Certain kinds of mapping and land surveying, and then also professional cinema photography for a film or television production, or real estate, or basically any kind of photography. So given the fact that most people most of the time are using drones in a commercial way with some kind of imagery technology like photography, videography, I mean, really, that kind of opens the doors. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that if you're going to go to the FAA and say, I want to...
you're making money off it, the government wants a cut.
Well, it's not really so much a tax as it is a license, as it is just a license, basically. Okay. I mean, the FAA is not interested in the revenue at all.
There's no fee for it? Well, is there a small fee?
That's a good question. I don't think so. I think you can just apply through their website. That's something I should know, but I don't. But I think you can just apply. But again, if you're a real professional concern and you're really gonna, chances are you might hire a lawyer or something. But in general, it's either a nominal cost or no cost to apply.
Okay.
Yeah. And so basically just for commercial use. And there are a lot of different commercial uses, and they've been more liberal with allowing companies as of late to get approved, and have a quickened approval process. So there's been a good number of corporations that have been approved already, or even small companies, and as well. But yeah, if you're a hobbyist and you just want one to play around with, you can do it without a license. And yeah, as long as I think you said.
Are there any big, well-known companies that maybe we wouldn't expect to be using drones that have applied and gotten licenses for things like this?
Amazon, but you knew that.
Amazon.
Yeah, because
the other one
is a delivery service.
Oh boy, what is the big? There's a big insurance company. It's not State Farm. It's not Allstate. Well, maybe it is Allstate. Allstate. And I'm embarrassed because I actually wrote the blog post for this, and I can't remember the company, but I'm pretty sure Allstate has. They've received permission to test a series of drones that they're then in turn going to use for. They're going to use those for. Claims verification, sort of looking over a disaster. Obviously, if the disaster happens and they're probably going to be one of the heavy insurers in that case, and so they want to use that to sort of assess damage and things like that, which is, that's one of the great uses for it. Really, that's
actually a really good idea.
Yeah.
So you get in the car crash out on the highway, and you're going to start getting swarmed by drones.
Well, funny you should mention that. The Massachusetts State Police are now trying to get a couple of drones in the air for just that purpose. In other words, they claim they're not going to use it for surveillance. That remains to be seen, and that of course gets into the whole privacy issue, which I'm guessing we'll cover later. But they're actually going to. What they want to do is use it to, assess if there's a huge traffic pileup or accident. They can deploy the drone. It can fly over. The operator can look at it and sort of, get an idea of what happened or what is happening.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Based on that, do you think maybe sometime in the next 5 years we're going to start seeing signs on the side of the road instead of speed check by radar, speed check by drone?
Absolutely. I think it'll. Law enforcement, you're opening a whole can of worms with all the, potential legitimate uses and by the same token, the potential illegitimate uses. So it's going to be a real firefight, I think, legislatively speaking.
I hope that doesn't happen, though, with the speeding and with the car. That's the last thing I would want, is to be driving down and in my autonomous vehicle, riding down in my autonomous vehicle down the road, and then having a drone come up and
follow you.
Yeah, follow me and tell me I'm going too fast and give me a ticket or something.
Well, you can blame the car.
Exactly, I was going to say.
Blame the vehicle. Blame my autonomous vehicle. It's Google's fault.
It wasn't me, it was my Google car. So I Google the ticket.
That cannot come soon enough. I want that now. I really do. Would you guys ride in an autonomous vehicle? I mean, maybe it's not ready today, but maybe 5 years from now, 10 years. I mean, depending on if the infrastructure were in place, would you feel comfortable riding in an autonomous vehicle?
Yeah,
I would on the major highways. Your listeners won't know where I live. I live in the mountains of Blue Ridge Mountains of western North Carolina. I wouldn't trust it here for a long time, I think, until there's going to be a lot of elevation and curve issues, and not to mention ice and snow. So, but definitely, I think on the main highways, I don't think that they could do any worse than some of the drivers I see on Interstate 40. So,
That's a good point.
Unfortunately, I hear most of the accidents that are happening with the autonomous vehicles, the Google car was completely in the right, and the accident was caused because
the human.
So yeah, the human that didn't exactly know the rules of the road crashed into the Google car. Mm-hmm. So you might actually get in more accidents.
Yeah, due to other people.
At this point, at least.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Paul?
Well, I was just saying, they've already got automated planes, they've got automated trains, so, why not have the cars and buses do the same thing as well? Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's a movie. There was a movie a while back called, was it Mario Brothers or something? They were running all the cars off an electric track.
Oh.
Automation that way, I guess. That was their first, I suppose, idea of having automated cars on the road. Have it follow a electric track, so it can't crash into anything.
Yeah, that'd be safe, kind of like a train, almost. So
pretty much, yeah.
Or a trolley or something, or that's Andrew, would you ride in one or no?
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. I mean, a lot of people in Vermont. I think I told you about this a few weeks ago. Don't really know how to drive, so it'd be interesting to see, autonomous vehicles. See if that improves, kind of, realizing what lanes in Vermont are right-hand only lanes and and things like that, because they kind of sneak up on you.
I think if we could remove all the humans, but people love to drive cars, right? It is fun to drive a car and drive fast, and you have some good music on. You just in a beautiful countryside or mountains or wherever you are, it's nice. So, but yeah, if you could remove that human element and just have it automated, then I guess we'd have a lot fewer crashes, and it would be good. It'd be really convenient too.
There is a real big downside to it because it would make it easier for anyone to steal a car. You would just have to, log into your computer and hack into that car and steal it.
And just drive it to you.
Exactly.
What was that Silicon Valley where Jared got on that autonomous vehicle, was programmed, and it took him over on that? Did you guys see that episode or no? No.
I haven't caught up. I've heard it's great, though.
Yeah. Do you
love Mike Judge.
Oh, my God. It's such a good show. This show is so good. I mean, there was this joke in this, I don't want, no spoilers, but this joke in this last one, and it's just, after I watched it, I was laughing like for about 15 minutes afterwards. I mean, it was just so funny. But there is this one episode where Jared, which is one of the main characters, got into this autonomous vehicle just to take him home, but somehow it got reprogrammed to go out, and he ended up going like to some other country, and it was, yeah. But anyway.
That would be a fear of mine, I guess. You get into your car, you program it to take you to work, and maybe you didn't get much sleep last night. You kind of doze off, and you wake up, and you're in a different state. And you're like, shit, I have to be at work.
Yeah.
It just like takes you somewhere else.
Oh, what if there's a glitch? Or what if somebody hijacked it and put new coordinates in there? And yeah. That's one thing also. Even when it comes to regular technology today, in our current technology rather, in our vehicles, that little things that I really wish that would have a manual override. And my number one thing that I really complain about all the time is just the power windows in the car. It would be so nice if we had the roll down in addition to the power, so that in case the window motor breaks, you can still roll it down. Because I've had 2 vehicles where that stupid motor has broken. One was a BMW, another one was a Jeep, and that happened. I had to get the motors repaired. So, but if there were an override, that's the thing. If as long as we have manual overrides, then I'm good. That's all. I want a manual.
That actually happened to my Land Rover too. It's pretty expensive.
Yeah, it's really expensive, right? And then if it gets jammed down and you can't lift it up, and you have to have it fixed. So, yeah.
I think it was like $200 a window to get a new motor for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not cheap. Not cheap at all. So, well, I have another drone story. And I just thought this one was unique because it is actually a Kickstarter campaign. And there is a Kickstarter campaign where you can, it's called the Sprite, and it's a portable drone that is durable and rugged that you take with you when you're hiking. So you can launch it when you're in the mountains, and then you can provide aerial shots of obstacles that you would be ahead of you, for example, and you can kind of just see what's around. And I thought that was really just a unique idea. And it's a really kind of cool looking project. Let me pull up the link here. And now it's on the Kickstarter. They have 146 backers so far. They're reaching for $200,000. They're at 98,678. So they have 23 days left to go, and they're almost halfway there. So it's looking pretty good. It's a different, another word for drone is unmanned aerial vehicle. So it's another one of those rugged, cool looking. And I just thought it was interesting that there's actually a Kickstarter now that's selling drones. I have not seen one on a Kickstarter yet. It does have the video on it, and it goes 4 miles away, which is a pretty good range in my opinion.
That's an average of $675 a person. That's pretty impressive.
For the backing? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's expensive.
Right. Well, drones, I mean, they've really taken the crowdfunding world by storm. I don't mean to be so trying to sell Drone Life so much, but if you actually go to dronelife.com and type in something like crowdfunding or Indiegogo or Kickstarter, there are a number of those. And a couple of things that amazes me about that is that that not only are there so many, but they tend to get funded very quickly, and a lot of them aren't huge. I mean, a lot of them are $50,000 type prototype things, and I think part of that is because the startup cost for a drone can really be pretty low. I mean, a lot of people now are 3D printing, like we were talking about. They're 3D printing the parts, and it's just it just amazes me. I mean, I recently wrote an article where I think I had, let me count, I had six or seven crowdfunded drone projects just in March alone, and that was just the tip of the iceberg. That's just what I was actually able to write about.
Wow. See, I didn't know there were that many. I haven't even heard of any until this one. So, but granted, I'm not in the drone world, so I guess that's why.
This is interesting. This Sprite drone. It really reminds me. I don't know if anybody's seen the Lily camera.
Yeah,
I have
Lily camera.
It reminds me of that.
Comes out in February, from what I believe, next year. The Lily Cam.
What's the Lily Cam?
It's essentially AI drone, so you can throw it anywhere and it will just follow you. It works on a tag system.
That's cool.
Yeah, so you keep like a little, I don't know if it's RFID, but some sort of transmitting device in your pocket, so you can take it like, I think one of the examples it showed online was snowboarding. So a snowboarder would like throw it up in the air and it would film you in like beautiful 1080p, and you could just like fly down the mountain, and this thing takes professional aerial footage of you when you're
amazing
doing things like and
I guess
it's crazy.
It sees if there's something in the way and it will duck around it, I would imagine.
Oh, It's not up to that yet.
Oh, never mind.
Crash into things.
So it'll crash into trees. All right.
But you're not.
That's why they recommend you to have it in open space.
And
probably not in the forest or something.
That's really cool, though. I want one of those. Just so you can even... can you imagine? I mean, forget Periscope or Meerkat, right? If you can just do some, like, drone live feed if you're walking down the street or something like that. That's cool.
Yeah. There's actually...
Don't walk under a bridge.
Yeah. There's actually a whole line of those. I mean, that's sort of become a subsection of drone types that they have different names, but I think one of the things they're actually calling them selfie drones, because that's the idea. They will follow you around in any situation. And like Andrew was saying, you can get an RFID transmitter, but they'll also follow a smartphone, a GPS on a smartphone as well.
No kidding. That's nice. Yeah.
So I think the autonomous aspect of drones is going to be sort of the next wow factor that you're going to see in the industry.
Do any of you own a drone right now?
No.
I don't.
I have a huge confession.
You don't have one?
I've been writing for a drone blog for a year. I don't own one. I've never actually flown one, but that's sort of the idea of, I guess, being a journalist. You often don't get to do what you write about.
Yeah. I have a little one, and I don't really do much with it because I thought, oh, well, this is a cute little drone,
Right.
And it's really little, so I just don't play with it.
What is it used for?
It takes there's a camera. You can take pictures with it and or video. But I would like to go with something that's a little bit better and get, but I think I'll wait. I don't need it, I just think it'd be fun to play with. That's the only reason I want it, just to grab footage, and I think it'll be fun. Not that I want to spy on anyone by any means, but it's just fun, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like a hobby. I mean, people have been flying like remote control aircraft around for years.
Yeah, exactly. So... Well, so when did you start writing for Drone Life? It was about a year ago, Jason?
It was about a year ago. I guess it was in April.
Mm-hmm. And wow, so it goes fast, huh?
It does.
Yeah.
It was sort of I've got a story. I don't know if you want me to share it or not, but
sure, go for it.
I can share a quick story about how it happened. My gig, if you want to call it that, with Drone Life started with a 2014 Subaru Impreza, and what I mean by that is I was driving my beloved Subaru, and it started smoking one day, and so it became obvious I was going to have to buy a car. And I began to look around at the whole, the financial details. And I have a child in college, and I have another child in high school. So, I mean, every dollar counts. And I started thinking to myself, I wonder if I could, in addition to my just regular day job as a communications manager, I wonder if I could just sort of on a lark find a freelance gig that would almost, would more or less pay the car payment. And if I did, that'd be great because I wouldn't have to juggle a budget. So I went to guru.com, which is sort of I like to call it an eBay for freelancers. You look at projects, you throw your profile at them. If they like it, they hire you and that sort of thing. So that's how I met the folks at Drone Life. It's actually based out of Boston. I've only spoken by phone with these guys one time. Everything else has been email, and we've had a great business relationship for a year.
Wow.
And
did you have to show proof of your examples of your work and samples of your work? Yeah,
exactly. You have a profile and it has all your. I mean, it's almost like within Guru or any of these kind of websites, you have a sort of the equivalent of a LinkedIn profile, and you can add links. And I've been writing for newspapers for 15 years, so had a lot of stuff. So it was seemed like it was a good fit.
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of started.
Have you seen? Are you thinking that being that now you're writing for Drone Life? Are you also writing for an additional paper as well, or are you? I'm just wondering if you made the shift to all online. Was where I'm going with this question.
Well, I'm no longer working with newspapers, so yes, I have made that shift. I got out of the business.
Good for you.
Just because I saw things coming that I didn't like, and were going to be dangerous from a career standpoint. So I got out of that, and I've tried it. It's one of those things of trying to juggle a full-time job and everything else. I love to style myself as a tech writer, but I don't really know that I'm there yet. I've written a few things. I'm very interested in futurism and issues like transhumanism and the singularity and artificial intelligence. So I've tried to get in that world. I've written a few things for the World Future Society what's it called? A transhumanist magazine called H Plus, Humanity Plus. So just some of those. They're a little more obscure, but
nice.
it's sort of those subjects like the kind that Ray Kurzweil deals with. If you're familiar with him.
Yeah, I am.
So.
Do you have a personal website that you showcase all of links to all of your work, or no?
Let's say it's in progress. I'm doing. I have a sort of placeholder blog that have you guys ever? I'm sure you've had this experience. If you start a blog and you're very excited about it, and you buy a domain from GoDaddy or whatever. And everything's great, and then it just kind of falls to the wayside. So I actually have a website called Transhumaniac. It's supposed to be a clever play on words. It's trans and then the word maniac.com. And the idea is to write about things like transhumanism, singularity, drones, technology. And it was going really great until about the end of last year. So, but there are links there if someone wants to look at my work.
Now, I laugh just because I'm looking at the site now. Yeah, I see what you mean. It was a nice site, though. It looks really great.
Well,
but you're welcome.
It's all WordPress.
I love WordPress. So, no, I laugh because the same thing has happened to me. You know how many sites I've started and how many personal blogs I've started? I'm like, oh, I'm going to put all my stuff here. Here's my domain, and this is my new spot. And then I'll start, and then I'll just be like, you get. I don't know, life gets in the way, or there's just too many places to post, and it's just, I don't know. So I stopped, and now I'm posting to LinkedIn, Pulse, and Medium, but I don't do anything on my personal blog at all anymore. Right. So, yeah. I know.
Jason, are you a gamer at all?
From the past, not so much anymore. I mean, I play things like Assassin's Creed, that.
Have you ever heard of Deus Ex?
I've heard of it, but the name rings a bell. But no, not really.
This is what this all reminds me of. I was very fascinated in that game for a while, and basically the whole premise is it takes place a number of years in the future. I don't know how many exactly, and there's a big political struggle over transhumanism, and this is what this reminds me of. And I was really fascinated by this, how people would go to these underground doctors to have, modifications put in their body, like certain types of tech and things to make them have better reflexes and stronger and stuff like that. And it was like a huge political issue. And I just loved it. I thought it was great.
Fiction. Yeah. I love to read books like that. I'm actually working on one by, I think you pronounce it Ramez Nam. He's sort of a futuristic writer. It's called Nexus, and it's about that exact same issue. The idea of how much autonomy does a person have to enhance themselves versus how much does a particular government see that as a security risk or something like that. And it's fascinating. I could actually do a podcast on that.
What do you think about that issue? Do you think that's actually going to become a reality at some point?
Well, what do you mean specifically? Just people enhancing themselves in those ways, or?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's already. I think it's funny because you get people into a certain comfort zone, and what they've been doing seems not threatening, but anything new is threatening. And what I mean by that is, how many of us have relatives who have some form of artificial knee or some kind of implant in their knee, or have a pacemaker, or have have anything like that, or I don't even know if they still do Norplant. They used to have the birth control implant. I don't know if that's still a thing, but that we're already there. I mean, it's not like we're not already there. It's just a matter of, do I feel comfortable about the next thing that's coming out? And I think that what we're seeing we're not really necessarily seeing technology necessarily take off in great leaps and bounds. It seems to be more incremental, with every now and then there being some sort of game changer. But in general, things just sort of change. And I think it's one thing for someone to say, well, I don't think humans should enhance themselves with technology, blah, blah, blah. And it's another thing to say, oh, you mean that my elderly father could live 30 more years with some sort of heart implant? Mm-hmm. Well, do it. I mean, it's sort of, when it becomes personal is when it becomes, less of a threat from the outside.
So essentially, as we close that gap between being able to implant hacking devices into our arm and stuff like that, it just might not seem that ridiculous 30 years down the line.
Well, yeah, I mean, how ridiculous? Well, I'm 44, so maybe it seems more. It seems ridiculous to me that I'm looking at this device that has, how many thousands of songs and videos and everything. I mean, that to me, but it sneaked up on us. You know what I mean? It was like we didn't even realize that we were in this amazing world until we just looked back. And so I think that's the same way it's going to be with body enhancements, with drones. I think that people are so scared of drones, and well, maybe I should wait. Let me wait. Should I wait or should I ramble on?
No, you're fine.
Okay, what I was going to say is, I think drones are interesting because, how were they first introduced to the public? They were first introduced as military machines, as killing machines, basically. And so I think that in the public mind, that's when I talk to people about drones, they always bring up the what-if scenarios. Well, what if a terrorist does this or that with it? What if a terrorist puts a payload of anthrax on a drone and flies it somewhere? Or what if this happens, or what if that happens? And I think those are all legitimate concerns, and they all have to be addressed. But I think part of the fear is just this idea of it goes back to the whole Frankenstein complex. I mean, something out there that's it's kind of hardwired into our evolution and our DNA. It's like there's a thing out there, and I don't know what it's going to do. And it doesn't matter if it's a saber-toothed tiger or a drone. I think we still have that visceral sort of feeling of that's the unknown. I don't know what it's going to do to me. And that's. I mean, you think about each of us. If we each saw a drone, even though I write for drones and I sort of know what's going on in the industry, if one just sort of buzzed by me, I would be a little unnerved. And part of it's just because of that fight or flight reaction, and another is just it's not familiar at this point. Now, my 17-year-old, when she's my age, I'm guessing drones will be as common as a UPS truck or something pulling up to the house. So, I mean, I think it's just all about fear and being able to accept things once they become useful, and once we see that they're not going to take over and form Skynet and we're going to have a Terminator world. I think once people see it's the same with the self-driving cars. It's going to be crazy when they first come out, and the media, the mass media, they're going to jump on every time a self-driving car or drone is in some kind of accident. They're going to jump all over it. It's going to be a national catastrophe. It's going to be on all three networks. Whereas, there will continue to be thousands of people killed in auto wrecks by human error and drunk driving and all that. So
Right.
By the time that happens, though, it would be funny because then you'd have reporters sending out drones to catch the scene.
Absolutely. We're already doing that. Yeah.
So it would be hypocritical of them to actually criticize a, automated vehicle.
That never stopped them before.
I mean, the microwave comes to mind for me, at least. That was invented in the military as well, and now almost every single person in America owns a microwave device to cook their food in their home.
Invented in the military? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was the internet. Radar transmitter.
The internet was military. DARPA, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that's,
Interesting. But I think you hit the nail on the head. Anything new, there's a lot of fear around it, and not with everyone, but there's a certain group of people that have fear and discomfort when it comes to any type of new innovative technology that that would be disruptive, and it's interesting. And then you have people that easily adapt and that are open to all of it, and then you have those that are born in that era and it's natural to them. And so it's I think all of us will be probably the people that will easily adapt with everything. It's at least I welcome all new innovation and all everything like this. It's just so fascinating to me. So I love it. But,
and if I could interject,
sure.
you mentioned something. You mentioned disruption, and I think that's going to be the thing to really watch with the drone industry, because it's going to be incredibly disruptive. Going back to the story that you referenced about the cattle in Australia, the drones being used to drive cattle. If you notice what the story said, it stated that that used to be the job of a helicopter.
Right, it did.
Which means a human pilot. The same things are happening and I really think that the sort of the hidden trend that's going to emerge in drones, in other words, the one that's not going to be reported in any big way, it's not going to be as sexy as Amazon, is going to be in agriculture. I mean, it's already starting to, I think one of the stories you included in the show notes talked about drones in Louisiana working with agricultural, finding areas of drought, mapping, that sort of thing. And, if you hire a drone or if you buy a drone to dust your crops, that means that some pilot doesn't have a job.
That's
true.
And so
they're going to, and what's it going to do to UPS drivers if Amazon, starts shipping so much?
It will be disruptive in that way, but at the same time, I think that as society changes, sure, there might not be that many jobs in that role, or those roles might not be available, but other innovative, other solutions, other types of roles will come about. And as the human race evolves, we'll just kind of, who knows what other kind of jobs there'll be in the future. But there are things that we probably can't conceive right now that we don't know what they are. So
I think the jobs that are actually going to be required by humans are getting a lot more technical, though, because you're going to have a lot more companies producing these drones in factories, but who's to say that the factories aren't going to be automated as well?
Yeah,
and the real people that we're going to need are programmers and people of that caliber, networkers, things like that.
Yeah, I think it will replace probably a lot of the blue collar, I would think.
I just hope they'll always need people to write about these things. That'll be when the robot writers come, then I'm in trouble.
I think writing is an art that's not going to be going away anytime soon.
I think you're safe.
We say that now, but somewhere in the Google Labs they're working on an algorithm. I guarantee you, a Ernest Hemingway algorithm that will allow
Oh, wouldn't that be amazing? Like, let's say you're a student and you need a story on, I don't know, whatever. You have to write a report on drones, and you just say, write me a report on drones. And yeah.
Go to this website, writemyessay.com.
Yeah. What if it were picking up your writing style? An app that would pick up your writing style, right? And then you put in a topic, and then it
just
writes
reproduce it for different topics.
Well, that's where technology is going, right? Is the whole, I don't know if the term is something like adaptive technology. The technology learns from you, about you, and that sort of thing. And I mean, that is going to be true, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Not too many people trust the media nowadays. What do you think they're going to do when all the drones are reporting the news by themselves?
They're just going to fly over places and report the news stories. Oh my goodness.
It adds a new word to paparazzi.
It does, doesn't it? They could get anywhere, right?
Just send a drone in.
Dronerazzi. Yeah.
What if they made, and they probably have them already, just super, super mini drones that you can really see that would go into places that you're not really supposed to go to and capture footage that way.
Yeah, I think a few months ago we talked about that drone that was shaped like a snake that would go around like after earthquakes and find people by snaking through the rubble.
That's
with a
right,
camera.
we did. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I think that's a great idea, though, actually, to go to those kind of places, earthquakes or nuclear sites and just places where it's really challenging for humans to get to. And
I might have these little mosquito-sized drones flying around and just spying on people.
Yeah, and that's,
Right.
yeah.
Right. And when, everything we've been talking about, it sort of all has a common thread, and that is the idea of, how can a technology be used? And I like to joke. I'm sure that however long ago it was that we started using fire. I'm sure there was a committee of Cro-Magnon guys standing around. Some of them were probably saying, "Well, if we develop this fire, we're going to be able to. You could burn someone and hurt them, but you could cook your food as well." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In other words, every time there's a new technology, I think that the bottom line is that technology is going to happen whether you want it to or not. In other words, if the U.S., for example, got very restrictive about drone use and drone manufacture and all that, guess what? That means that some other country is going to reap the lion's share of the profits and the technological advances. I mean, it's the same in any technology. I mean, it's it's the idea that you can, of course, you put a hammer in my hand, I can build a house with it, or I can clobber somebody over the head.
Exactly. Exactly. There's going to be pros and cons to everything, and you can take, if you just expect the best, and that this technology is going to be used for good things, and there's also bad things that it can be used for as well. But I agree.
My dad had a saying. I don't think it was original. He said, "Expect the best, but plan for the worst."
Yeah, that's good. I like that. Yeah. So, I'm going to shift gears, unless if anyone has more questions about drones, because we could talk about drones for hours, but for the sake of time, because we're running a little bit over. Okay, so going once, going twice, drone questions?
I've rambled enough.
Okay, no, I loved it, though. Loved it. So I wanted to shift gears and chat with you a little bit, Paul, about what you are into. I know you do P. Kerry 12 Productions, and you have an app, a couple of apps out there. So tell us what you've been up to.
Besides the tech webcast app that recently came out, pretty much nothing.
Let's tell everybody about that. So Tech Webcast is a podcast out of Australia that's every Friday night, Saturday, Melbourne time. And so, Paul, you created an app for them, which works wonderfully. It's a podcast app, and it shows all the latest shows. So that's awesome. I love it, and it works really well. So, but go on. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just want to let everyone know about that.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's fun. And the other apps obviously supports the YouTube channel I do on PKTV for iOS and Android. But yeah, essentially, those are the apps that I do. They're not actually, my day sort of job to do the mobile tab applications, but I do those on the side. Mm-hmm. Mainly I do obviously SQL database development and that type of stuff. So it's completely different to what I actually do on the side.
Oh wow. Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, that's great. And what's PKTV all about? Tell me about that.
It's really just a mixture of, when I started that, it was essentially me trying to figure out how to do video editing. Mm-hmm. It just developed into a channel, essentially, and I actually begun to work on actually putting out decent content instead of putting out anything with different experimentations of editing.
Yeah.
That's pretty much a technology-based channel, so it has its ups and downs, like reviews and that type of stuff.
Right.
On multitude of products.
I saw you did an Apple unboxing, the Apple Watch unboxing and review of that recently, and that went pretty well. So I know you're always the one thing that I really love about following you online is that you seem to have pretty much all the same tech that I do and then some, and you're always writing about it and blogging about it and just telling people what you think about it. So I think that's awesome. So what kind of devices are you using right now? Because I know you've had a handful of Android and iOS, and what's your favorite? What are you into right now?
The NVIDIA Shield tablet, still rocking that. The iPad Air 2. Phone-wise, the iPhone 6 Plus and the Nexus 6.
See, those are my two phones too, yeah.
Watch-wise, Moto 360, Pebble, and the Apple Watch.
And you signed up to get the new Pebble too, right? The Pebble 2?
Yeah, and that Pebble Time Steel's on the way. So
when does that arrive? Is that arriving this summer?
From what it says, my shipping time's July, from what I saw on Kickstarter. Mm-hmm. So that should be here in 2 months, I'm guessing, or 6 weeks.
Will the new Pebble 2 be able to make and receive calls like the Apple Watch does?
Yes, but only on Android.
Yeah, only on Android. But not, so it will work with your iOS device, but not for receiving and making calls.
I think it'll work on iOS as well, because the old Pebble does that. So it should just continue on to the next Pebble.
Yeah.
Essentially. But I did have, obviously, other Android Wear watches, like the LG G Watch, the other one, the LG G Watch R.
Oh, yeah, the second one. I have the first gen LG G.
Yeah, I had the first one as well.
Did you order the Urbane?
No, because it pretty much is the LG G Watch R with better build quality. That's essentially it. Yeah. But I also had the Gear S as well, which
I had that one too. Yeah, that was
a good watch.
That was thick. That was big. It
was big, yeah. But the one thing I loved about it was essentially you put a SIM card in it and just run off, essentially, and have all your phone calls and everything, text messages directly on your wrist.
Yeah,
which I thought was convenient. Essentially,
it's nice. Also, if you need to, let's say if you're going out for a run or something, and just to be able to access your music from that watch rather than holding your phone, and
you get used to it really fast. Yeah. Like you run out the door and not even think about taking your phone sometimes.
Yeah, you don't need
that
to.
A few times.
Yeah. Because you can access your content and receive and make calls from your wrist. So it is nice that it is a standalone device. And how much were the plans for
definitely.
that in Brisbane? What were your rate plans going for the Gear S watch? Do you remember? Like in the United States, it was only about $15, I think, to use that watch a month.
Oh, you mean? Oh, yeah. Basically, we have. You can have either phone plans or data plans, anything you like. Essentially, you have to buy the watch outright. There's obviously you can't get it on a plan or anything like that.
Right.
So basically, you're putting in a prepaid SIM and you're choosing a prepaid plan. So whatever plans we have here, you can pretty much put in. So you could start off obviously from a $10 plan, which doesn't give you much data, doesn't give you much phone calls or anything like that, all the way up to say a $60 plan, which will give you 3 or 5 gigs of data and multiple calls and that type of stuff.
Gotcha. Well, that makes sense. It's just kind of like what you would do when you buy a prepaid SIM for a phone. You just buy it for the watch and pop it in the watch.
You ever think these watches are going to be a replacement for a smartphone at any point?
I think so.
You think so? You think we'll do away with the whole big bulky cell phone trend?
I want to see that happen with the, you know how Futurama with Leela has her entire wristband?
Yeah.
That's what I want to see happen.
I was actually, I was thinking about, I'm such a nerd. I'm a gamer, so I was thinking about Fallout. They have the whole thing that basically covers your entire forearm.
Oh, and is there a big party behind you?
Oh, all right, bye everyone.
So what about Fallout? What was that you said? Sorry.
Oh, they have a big computer that pretty much covers your entire forearm.
Oh, really?
And that was like, yeah, it was like a rite of passage. Once you hit a certain age, you get your, I forget what it was called, your big computer system on your arm.
That'd be brilliant, though.
I could see, and I've mentioned this before in the past, I could see having, once holograms are out and available, a nice holographic image that would pop out of your wrist and be able to talk with people just directly from your wrist, and maybe even access, I guess, content just through swiping your hands. I'm thinking a lot of, it's amazing how films kind of shape our view of what we expect. But I'm thinking a lot of Iron Man type stuff where he's moving images in the air, but something like that popping out of your wrist and broadcasting right in front of you, where you're able to kind of motion and touch things, and that I kind of see that coming. And I don't know when, maybe 20 years from now, but
you got the Microsoft Halo. That's the closest thing you'll get to that.
Oh, yeah, the Halo. That's right.
Yeah.
What is this? They made something called the Halo now?
It's VR.
Yeah. It's pretty funny, though.
We have the Halo, the Spartan, the Cortana. They really like that game.
They do, don't they? You're right. They're doing everything after that game. Yeah. Oh, something's going on there in the background. Is that...
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Is that you, or is it... No, I don't know who it is. I don't know.
Housekeeping. Sorry.
Oh, housekeeping. Okay. Tell them to add an extra mint to your pillow.
Should let them know they're on the radio right now.
Yeah.
See how they react.
That's funny. So, well, good. That's awesome. So, you've been enjoying your time in the United States. Then, when do you leave? Today is your last day. Or are you going home tomorrow?
I leave tomorrow afternoon.
To go back to Brisbane?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, that was a fast trip.
Oh no, it's been almost 10 days. So
yeah, it went by fast. Well, for me at least, I've been enjoying all your photos all your mother's photos on Facebook.
Oh yeah, there's like a ton of them. Yeah,
I know.
I took probably over 1,000 photos.
Oh my goodness.
Literally.
You got a new camera too, right?
Yeah, all on the DSLR. So yeah, I've been pretty much snapping happily with that.
Oh, nice. Nice. Have you been using your GoPro at all?
Yes, I used that yesterday going snorkeling. So that was very good.
Wait. So you put it in the waterproof case, and you went underneath, and you took it snorkeling.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see that footage. Are you going to put that footage up when you get home?
Yeah. I looked at it. I think I have to do a lot of stabilization work because I don't think the GoPro is very stable underwater.
Ah, okay.
For some reason, it's a bit shaky. I don't know how they get the really, really smooth footage underwater. Mm-hmm. It's just really hard to do that.
I don't know. Maybe were you holding it, or did you have it mounted to your head in some way? Or?
Oh, that's probably why. Because I was holding it. Wasn't actually mounted to my body because I didn't think. Because I wanted to actually move the camera around to different locations. I thought that'd be easier than me turning my head to look at it.
Yeah, and that must be, But that's cool, though. I never even thought about putting that inside something like that and taking it. I'd love to go whitewater rafting this summer, and that would be really a lot of fun to bring my GoPro. Because I think we have the same one. You have the GoPro 4 Black, right?
That's right, yeah. Works really well. I haven't had any issues.
Battery life, though. Did you get an extended battery on that?
No, I didn't have one in time, and I couldn't find a store that had those in Waikiki, so I had to deal with a spare battery instead. So I brought a spare battery and just swapped it when it ran low. Essentially, I was only in the water for an hour, so that pretty much killed the battery after an hour.
I know. Yeah, it only really lasted an hour. Yeah.
Before we run out of too much time, I got to kind of bring this up. Now that we're talking about snorkeling, I found something really cool. I don't know if anybody's ever seen it, but the Nautilus VR. Has anybody ever heard of that?
I haven't heard of that. No, I'm Googling it now.
It's like this half helmet face mask type thing that you can put on. It actually has an artificial breather in it, so you can go underwater like snorkeling with it.
Oh, wow.
And it's virtual reality underwater, so you can explore like deep sea underwater environments while you're swimming.
It's not the same though.
It's definitely not the same, but it seems really cool once they can actually get, like the fully immersive, like really nice graphics put together. You can basically swim in the Mariana Trench or whatever you can think of.
But it still takes the fear factor away. Like if you're swimming with sharks in real life, you're actually terrified, as opposed to swimming with virtual sharks. You're not actually got that fear factor and adrenaline.
Being from Australia, I'm sure you know about that.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, VR is just you can make it as reactive as possible, but it's not going to be as realistic as it is in real life.
I could see that. It was just something I had to throw in there. It was amazing. I found it about a week ago.
Yeah, now I'm looking at the story. Now I'm looking at the website. Now I'm remembering it after pulling it up that you shared it last week. So, yeah, it
Sorry,
seems
I just had
super
to throw
cool.
that in.
No, it seems super cool, though. I'm looking at it now, and yeah, it's remote.com/Nautilus, or I guess someone just Googles Nautilus VR. Sounds like they're vacuuming there in the hotel room. So, I'm going to... Oh, there we go.
Yeah, sorry, I had to walk outside.
Okay. Yeah, so what's next for you, Paul? What are you up to next? Oh, I think we're losing him. I think we're losing him.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Sorry, what was that?
Oh, no, I was going to say, what's on the agenda for Paul next? What's going on with you next? What's in the works for you? Oh, we're losing him again.
What's in the works for me?
Yeah. Just like what do you have
sorry?
do you have anything planned next as far as tech wise, something you're looking forward to, or something that you're developing? Or I think you're doing the Android app for your tech webcast, and
yeah, I'm still working on obviously enhancing tech webcasts across all the platforms. That's obviously the next thing in line, and obviously there'll be a few bits and pieces of tech that'll be coming across at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Probably my next interest is actually the G4, mainly because it's better than the LG 3.
Oh, I'll be getting that next. I don't know, next week or the week after that. So I'll be getting one of that as well. Yeah. So I don't know, how do you do it? You just like do you sell your old phones after you're done?
Pretty much, yeah. Because I don't usually keep more than 2 phones with me. I have to have at least 2 phones with me, and sometimes I'll have 3 or 4 with me, but they usually go over time, and usually back to 2 again. So it's pretty good. I did look at the S6 and the S6 Edge, but I think I'll skip because it's a lot smaller than what I want to use.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Once you get used to with the 6 Plus and the 6 and the Nexus 6 with the 6-inch screen, so when you're at 5.5 inches to 6 inches, it's really hard to go down to 5.1 inches. And I've been using the GS6 Edge. It's awesome. And in the sunlight, it's just gorgeous. But
you miss that screen real estate.
Yeah, the screen real estate. I miss this. I do miss it. I do miss the screen real estate. And so my 2 main devices are the Nexus 6 and the 6 Plus, the iPhone 6 Plus. And Andrew, your main device is the Nexus 6 too. So
correct.
Yeah. And Jason, what are you using?
I just have a boring iPhone 6.
Oh, that's all right. 4.7 inches, so it's not bad. At least it's bigger than what you had before. So
Right.
But anyway, you guys, we're running way over on time, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it, and I want to give everyone a chance to plug their website and say goodbye. So, Jason, I'll start with you. Thank you so much for today and finally getting with us. It's been a long time in the making, in the works for us to talk, and I'm glad we were able to finally connect. And if you could tell everyone where people can find you online, and would love to have you back sometime in the near future also.
Well, thanks for having me. It was enjoyable. Probably the easiest way to connect with me online would just be through Twitter. You can reach me at Jason, P as in Patrick, Reagan, Reagan. That's at Jason, P as in Patrick, Reagan.
Excellent. Thank you.
Sure.
And Paul, I can't believe you were able to join us from Hawaii, out of all places, on your last day there. So you are awesome. I'm glad that we were able to make it work. And tell your mom I'm sorry that I took her son away for the last day. But now at least you have the rest of the day left there. Well, actually, no. It's the evening, I guess, there, right? What time is it there? No,
it's 4 o'clock,
4
so
o'clock.
I'll probably
Okay.
just head to the beach after this.
Okay. Oh,
essentially.
nice. All right. Well, where can folks find you online?
You can catch me on, obviously, YouTube, PKTV, all the applications on iOS and Android, PKTV. I'm on Twitter, PKerry12, and Google Plus, obviously, PKTV. I think that's everything that they can pretty much follow me on.
Okay, great. Thank you. And something I'm just noting, we forgot, Andrew, to do our tip of the week. We'll
fine.
save that. We'll save it for next week.
We have a lot of other content.
Yeah. And Andrew, where can folks find you online?
Well, if anybody's interested in my credentials, LinkedIn is a good place to stop. It's LinkedIn/Andrew Nels. So basically my full name minus the last 2 letters. And shoot me a message on Facebook. I do have a Twitter. Don't really use it that much. And usually after every show, I'll start using it for a little bit because I realize how much I don't use it, and then I'll stop using it about a week later.
That's awesome.
But
It's me.
LinkedIn and Facebook are my 2 most active networks.
Okay. Well, thank you. And for me, I'm at jenniferruggiero.com. But for the website, we are at getnerdywithit.com. We're on Facebook. It's facebook.com/getnerdywithit. And on Google+, google.com/getnerdywithit. Twitter.com/getnerdy_with it. We're also on iTunes and Stitcher, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Spreaker. And we have an Android and iOS app. They're being updated, and the new and improved versions should be up next week. But they are in the App Store now, so check them out. But the new ones will be up next week. So, all right. Thanks, everyone, for joining, and have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Get Nerdy With It. Join us each week as we interview nerds talking about their passions.
Oh, nerds.
And be sure to visit us at getnerdywithit.com.